I'll be the first to admit that I don't read or watch or follow nearly enough horror from outside the United States, with the exception of maybe Japan. I'm trying to get better about consuming more horror from diverse sources. And in the pursuit of that, I recently picked up I Am Behind You from my local library. I Am Behind You is a Swedish horror novel from the author, and I'm going to butcher this, John Lindqvist. It's technically part of a series, but I didn't know this when I picked it up, and honestly, I don't think it matters. It stands on its own. The story of this book is pretty confusing to explain. If I were to try and make it simple, I think I would best describe it as part Lost, part Stephen King's The Mist, and maybe a little Silent Hill mixed in. Before I elaborate though, this is a spoiler warning. I'm going to ruin a few things. Not that I don't think that would change your experience reading it though, so it's up to you if you want to read it before watching this video. Otherwise, let's look at John Lindqvist's I Am Behind You. Our story starts with 4 caravans, they're RVs essentially, sitting silently in a vast field of grass. There are no trees, no bushes, no rocks, no sun, mountains, nothing. Just the grass and the cloudless blue sky that stretches on forever. Inside the first trailer is a family of 3, Peter, Isabel, and Molly. The second trailer houses Karina, Stefan, and Emil. The third trailer belongs to Donald, Mavor, and his dog Benny. And finally, the fourth trailer belongs to the best characters in the story, in my opinion, Olaf and Lennart, and their cat Maud. These characters slowly begin to wake up and discover that their world has changed overnight. The night prior, these 4 campers went to sleep on a normal campsite surrounded by other campers. When they woke up though, they found themselves in this new weird situation. At first, the group thinks that someone may be messing with them, having moved their trailers overnight and depositing them where they're at now in this field. What's crazy to me though, is the fact that no one seems to be panicking at first. If this was me, I would have all kinds of wild theories. Mainly I would think I was dead or in limbo or something. The group spends time taking in their situation and determining what their food reserves look like and how they might be able to escape. Early in the story, we learn that the little girl Molly is acting strangely. She's honestly one of the worst characters that I've ever read. She's not poorly written or anything, it's the opposite really. I just really hate her as a character. And I think you're supposed to hate her though, so well done there. Throughout the whole beginning of this part, Molly likes playing with the young boy, Emil, and she likes scaring him. She tells him that there's a monster out there who will come to the camp and drink their blood. The adults eventually decide that they need to explore the surrounding area and see if they can actually determine where they're at. Peter sets off in his vehicle and finds that the GPS is tracking his movement, but the movement doesn't seem to match what he's seeing outside. There is only the field outside, no matter how far he goes. Afraid of getting lost, Peter actually turns around and heads back to the campsite. It's not long after that things begin to finally spiral out of control. The group is running out of food and they propose a plan to head out in all directions, leaving markers and intervals as they progress so that they can find their way back. They return having found nothing, but all being afraid of something out in the field. There are these figures out there. Some of the people see these white, faceless figures walking, while others see bloody men with stumps for hands or damaged black tigers. It's really up to the person seeing them what they're actually going to see. Throughout the story, we're given the backstories of various characters, and most of them honestly are pretty terrible. Donald kicks his dog and abuses his wife. Prior to that though, his wife actually tried to poison him, almost killing him. Isabel is a depressed woman who tries to kill her daughter, Molly, on several occasions. Molly, for her part, is a monster in this book, both literally and figuratively. Peter's also depressed and too cowardly to split with his wife and do what's best for both him and his daughter. Essentially, most of the characters really suck. As things get worse though, Peter's beginning to lose it a little bit, and he actually tells Isabel, his wife, that he wants a divorce, and this is actually a big step for him. He then hops in his car and drives off into the distance. He drives far off into the distance and finds that there's this large wall of darkness at the edge of the field. As clouds billow from this wall, his car is suddenly attacked by a group of burned figures that have appeared from the clouds. They fight to get into the car, slamming against it. As a result, Peter drives further into the darkness and inside the clouds. As he drives into this cloud though, it actually starts raining, and the rain is like acid. It starts hitting the car and starts eating through it. He can't get much further into the cloud, so he manages to turn his car around and escape the cloud before it's too late. And back in the field, he sees that the storm clouds are actually heading towards his camp, so he needs to head back and warn everybody. Back at the camp though, Karina and Isabel take another car and try to explore themselves. They get into a pretty graphic fight, and Karina hurts Isabel pretty badly. While Isabel is bleeding out on the grass, she sees one of the white figures, and she wants it to take her so desperately. She's seen this figure before when she was younger. I think this calls back to some trauma from her past. Karina sees the same creature though, but to her, the thing appears as that damaged black tiger I mentioned from before. Whatever the figure is, it starts slurping up the blood that's pouring from Isabel's wounds that's fallen onto the ground. To escape the thing, the two head back to the camp and the figures just follow slowly. Again, back at the camp, Mavor finds red crosses marking each of the trailers. They're painted in what appears to be blood. Several of the mysterious figures arrive at the edge of camp, and they don't really attack, they just wait. To Mavor, they appear as old actors, and to Olaf and Lennart, they appear as mysterious traveling salesmen, which I don't really understand. Upon Karina and Isabel returning, though, the group helps patch up Isabel as best they can. Peter arrives to the camp shortly after in time to tell them about the storm clouds that are on their way, and they just sit and they await the rain. The various groups hide out in their trailers and do their best to protect themselves from the acid that falls. During the incident, though, Isabel runs out to be with the figures waiting outside, and she's burned to death. It's a pretty violent death. It's revealed during the storm the nature of what Molly really is, though. The rain doesn't affect her, and all throughout the story she seems to have some knowledge of what was happening. I guess she's like one of the creatures from outside, part human and part whatever they are, like weird ghost vampires. She causes this terrible incident with Emil, where he's run over by one of the trailers and crushed. After doing this, she leaves, and as a tiger, she follows this path out further into the field. There isn't really a happy ending for any of the characters of I Am Behind You, as best as I can tell, but, I might be wrong. The conclusion of the story is very confusing, and it seems to be up to interpretation. For me, I think the story is about being your true self. Each of these characters, for the most part, are afraid of who they truly are. I think maybe the exceptions are Emil and the pets. I'm not sure how they fit into this interpretation, but everyone else feels off, like their lives took turns in the past for better or worse, leaving them feeling out of place in their present. And I think that maybe the field is a Silent Hill-esque location that drags you off when you're depressed in your life, or when you're hiding things about your past, afraid of what they'll do to your present. The creatures in this field seem to be victims of the past, doomed to walk the field back and forth for seemingly all eternity, appearing as whatever others saw them as, and not their true selves. While John Lindqvist's I Am Behind You was very confusing, I still had a really good time reading it. And I think this story is a little slow in the middle, but overall the story is pretty fast-paced. At the very least, the characters were memorable, even if for all the wrong reasons. There were also some genuinely heart-wrenching moments, so while this isn't the best story in the world, I would still rank it as a solid A-tier book, and I would recommend it to anyone looking for a fun, mysterious horror story with interesting characters. I think this would even be a fun story to read while you're camping or during a road trip, so if that's you, you might want to pick this one up. And with that said, I'll see y'all in the next video.